I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his legs. He's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Tonight, the haunting 911 call from the neighbor who found the son of Ruby Franke after he allegedly escaped from being tied up in a basement.
Fox 13 News reporter Lucy Nelson breaks down that phone call and tells us what came out of the YouTube mom's first court appearance today.
Lucy joins us now live in studio. And Lucy, for those just catching up on this story, describe who we're talking about here and who was in court.
Kelly, Ruby Franke is a Utah mother of 6 behind a well-known parenting YouTube channel called 8 Passengers. She and her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, also ran a so-called counseling site called Connections. Now, last week, both were arrested and charged on several counts of aggravated child abuse after evidence surfaced suggesting they kept 2 of Franke's children tied up and starving in Hildebrandt's basement.
Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
This is the 911 call from a man in Ivins, Utah. A 12-year-old boy showing up on his doorstep in an unimaginable condition, asking him to call police.
And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house.
That neighbor's house belongs to Jody Hildebrandt, where she and well-known YouTube mom Ruby Franke broadcasted their controversial parenting advice and counseling site called Connections. It was in that same home where police say Franke's son escaped from the basement and ran to a neighbor's house for help.
He has duct taped around each ankle. Yeah, there's sores around him. I think there's a good chance he's been... Oh, and he has them around his ankles. I mean, his wrists as well. Okay, this boy has been... This kid has obviously been... I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
The dispatcher is heard saying they'll send an ambulance, and in the background, the boy tells the neighbor that he doesn't need help and that nothing bad was happening to him at Hildebrandt's home.
He says what's happened to him is his fault.
The boy was immediately transferred to the hospital, and later police officers would find his little sister in the basement of Hildebrandt's home in a similar condition.
Afternoon, Mr. Windward. How are you?
Franke and Hildebrandt had their first court appearance Friday in Washington County.
My case is assigned to Judge Barnes. I would make an oral motion today to transfer this case to Judge Walton so that co-defendants track each other.
The judge granted a switch of Franke's judge to be the same as Hildebrandt's. The two will continue to be held without bond. Hildebrandt's attorney also filed a motion to the court asking for an expedited detention hearing, citing the defendant has experienced a life-threatening medical issue resulting in her hospitalization for several days. As of now, the two are scheduled for court for September 21st. Live in studio, Lucy Nelson, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Because there are some that have it a little worse off. And it's a shame that we have women, moms that will do it to their own children. Who's the next Hitler? Who's the next willing executioner? Who are they willing to execute? What lengths are you willing to go in your deprivation of other people? Because if it's the level of deprivation, then it doesn't matter the people. I want to remind everybody, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you're on Keith Little, El Perro, or Hecklebus, get on over to the other channels and do the same. There's some PayPal links down below for anybody that wants to share some love. And, of course, the StreamYard link is down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. We're going to, of course, continue on now with Hitler's willing executioners. And as I've spoken before, this is something that we're dealing with in modern times, repeating itself. And it's just coming at us from different ways. but doing the exact same thing. And we're doing it to ourselves, just like they did it to themselves back then. So my next starting point is the eliminationist program and institutions, the Nazi assault on the Jews, its character and evolution. And like I've explained before, you know, it was the onset of Christianity that actually started the anti-Semitic movement. And then it evolved over time and escalated in what we call German Nazi camps. And it still continues this day. It's just reformulated and redone, and now it's been dispersed into other categories. Like I said, the civil rights movement, and then the feminist movement, and then the gay rights, lesbian rights, and now we're seeing it transgender, Black Lives Matters, all kinds of things. And all it is just a separation of that one main group that they're going after, so they can start plotting you each against each other, plotting their mothers or against your own children. It's psychotic. They're helping you instill your own insanity. Although Hitler and the Nazis' eliminationist desire was, even before their ascension to power, clear and constant, the evolution of their immediate intentions and actual policies towards the Jews was not linear and unambiguous. In other words, it was far spread and thought to seep into every aspect of life. It was the Jews that were, before the Nazi Party, determined to be the blight of the German society. This is not surprising. A regime had come to the power determined to undertake a task, the elimination not only of the Jews from all spheres of social life in Germany, but also of their putative capacity to harm Germany. That was enormously complex and difficult, and that was without precedent in modern times. In other words, they took on the task of eliminating them from all aspects as they deemed they had already seeped into. They weren't going to let any of them slide. So they undertook, through the Nazi Party, a complete restructuring of a government body for that specific purpose. Distilling the essence from the broad array of the Germans' policies towards German and European Jews reveals that the policies shared two important features and objectives: to turn the Jews into socially dead beings, just like the 14th Amendment did, just like the civil rights did, just like the feminist right movement did, just like the gay and lesbian rights movement, just like the transgender movement's working. Yeah, all of it. It's all creating dead bodies. They're all persons. Every last one of those statutes that they reenact or legislate new enactments, they're just creating new persons. Socially dead beings. Beings that were violently dominated, natally alienated, and generally dishonored. And once they were, to treat them as such. In other words, once they were noted on paper as a socially dead being, and they started keeping track of them through identifications and saying, okay, well, you got to live over here. See, this was stuff that was taking place before the Nazi German Party came into power. They were already segregating him. People were already saying, no, we don't want you to live around us, so you can go live. Bankers were already selling specific plots to specific people and squeezing others out, just like we do, just like they do here in America, just like they do in modern times around the world. The second, to remove the Jews as thoroughly and permanently from social and, as far as possible, from physical contact with the German people, and thereby to neutralize them as a factor in German life. In other words, they're no longer a threat. Well, their belief, as far as history is concerned, is that if even one of them survived, they were a threat, because then they would breed like rabbits and produce more. The implementation of these objectives included a number of changing policies and measures, some of which overlapped temporarily, including verbal assault, physical assault, legal and administrative measures to isolate Jews from non-Jews, immigration policies, driving them sanctuary cities. Think about what's going on, people. You think they're playing? Neither am I. Driving them to emigrate, forced deportation and resettlement, physical separation in ghettos, killing through starvation, debilitation, and disease prior to the formal genocidal program. So is social welfare prior to a genocidal program? Are they getting you neutralized a feeling of being okay with lining up for your food? Is that natural? Slave labor as a surrogate for death. Why do you think the labor laws in the code, U.S. code and commercial code and all that's so hard to comprehend? There's over 8 million of them. And every last one of you presumes they apply to you. If you knew the truth and you stood on that truth, all you'd have to say is, I'm sorry, but that's impossible. I can only serve the one master. It is that simple. Genocide, primarily by the means of mass shootings, calculated starvation, and gassing. You think the world's sanctions don't calculate starvation in certain countries? Death marches. Trail of Tears was something like that. It wasn't anti-Semitic, but it's the same damn thing. It was people willing to be Hitler's willing executioners before the time of Hitler. So let's go on to the next one. And I do want to thank everybody for showing up. Serpent God, King Morpheus, Jen, always good to see you. 5 Hut, and that's all I see for now. So everybody else out there, I appreciate you showing up. And like I said, there's a StreamYard link in the comments section if anybody wants to join the panel. The next one I've got highlighted here is going to start talking about that evolution. And it says the nationwide program of November 9th through 10th, 1938 was an event of enormous significance. The Germans' measures taken until then had not succeeded in completely removing the Jews from their country. So it was time to become more severe, to send an unmistakable message and warning: leave or else. The policies that Germans subsequently implemented were articulated by Das Schwarz Corps 2 weeks after this nationwide orgy of violence, after this psychic equivalent of genocide. In other words, it was a dire warning. It was, leave or get out, or leave. What was it? Leave or else. That or else is you suffer the consequences no matter what they are. And those consequences are so unambiguous that anybody could assert them. Your neighbor, your mom. You know what I mean? Your mom, as a Nazi German member, thought that her daughter was having sexual affairs with a Jew boy. That would be enough. See, that's how literally stupid this shit is. The ideology being placed over the importance of life of your own daughter. And I'm not saying that happened, but I'm saying things much like that happened. They happen today, as we saw. And it doesn't take Hitler. It takes your own psychic inabilities, your own psychic imbalances, because you take upon ideologies of indoctrination. Yeah, then vaccinations. Those two. In an editorial, this official newspaper of the SS, the institution which more than any organized and implemented the eliminationist and exterminationist measures, declared ominously, the Jews must be driven from our residential districts and segregated where they will be among themselves, having as little contact with Germans as possible. Confined to themselves, these parasites will be reduced to poverty. Yet, according to this organ of the SS, this would not be enough. There was to be a next stage. So it was literally forecasting that once they segregated them, then they would gather them up from those segregation areas and ship them off somewhere else and not to be seen again by whatever measure. Leave or else. I thought I had another section here. I know I do. There it is. A couple more. The next part talks about the preparations for the next operational phase of the genocidal program took place from the summer of 1941 into the first months of 1942. The most significant developments were the erection of death camps. So like I said, they segregated them in the one at the one time and started even eliminating them there. But once they were able to segregate them into one area, and then they were able to send them off to the camps. The Germans experimented with Auschwitz's initial small gas chamber on September 3rd, 1941. Systematic gassing of Jews began at Auschwitz-Birkenau in March 1942. The first fixed gassing institution to become operational on more than an experimental basis was Chelmno, in which, using gas vans, the Germans began killing Jews from Lodz on December 8, 1941. In the last part here, conclusion, says the moment that the opportunity existed for the only final solution, that was final. Hitler seized the opportunity to begin to bring about his ideal of a world forever freed of Jewry and made the leap to genocide. So it was once the people said it was okay by going ahead and start to do things themselves because the government said they could. The government knew that's what the people wanted, and the government knew that the people would support them, particularly because it would free them of the Jewry that was causing them all of this problem that the nation's people were saying they caused. And that only takes a small implication by one ideology from one person that casts out to another and creates this little group. And remember, Hitler was the 7th member of the Nazi Party. So at that time, it was a very small group. And with a matter of years, he was the leader of the Nazi Party and taking the German people to war based on the premise that now not only are the Jews the very foundation of the downfall of the German society and a blight on German society, and therefore they had to get rid of the Jews so that the Germans could expand. That again, that was the very principle of the Germans then expanding into the rest of the world as a world dominating power. So they coincided together. Germany had the plans to go out and dominate the world, and only part of that was to exterminate the Jews. If they find anybody else along that way that they need to exterminate that's going against their views, they were going to do that and had no problem doing that either. So again, it's I pose that the same thing is happening today, and people are just blind to it because they just don't know the history. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. My people are perished for lack of knowledge. Too many people walk out of high school and don't pick up another book, don't do anything to research anything in the history that they were told to remember and expand upon it and see why if they do that, they find the inconsistencies. So think about this stuff, people. Actually, it's the SS. And actually, the SS is actually a backwards symbol of something from, I believe, Egypt or Sanskrit, something like that. Yeah, they did call them re-education camps. That's just like today's penitentiary. They're right. They want to reform them. They're called reformatories. They want to reform them. Penitentiaries, they want them to, what do they call it? Shit, I can't remember. Brain fart. I need another hit. But yeah, we really have to worry about what we're doing to our brothers and sisters. If we really love ourselves as our neighbor, then, or love our neighbor as ourselves, then why are we doing this stuff? Why are we not talking to each other in moments of peace rather than making arguments and finding out what's different and claiming the difference? Again, it was the Christianity that posed there was something different, and because there was something different, they posed to be something greater because they posed something different. And the Jews kind of dismissed this. They said, "Well, we just don't believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God," and that's okay too. But just because you have those opposing views doesn't mean that you have to get rid of one or the other. And that's what people have been indoctrinated into believing, is that opposing points of view is not a statement of war. It's a statement of different objective views, a different subjective views. And those are just mere opinions. So I don't know why everybody's fighting and arguing over the semantics of things. But again, the reality is that there's only one person that can really take authority in your life, and that's you. Anybody else that's trying to take authority in your life is just using you as a puppet, and that's not authority. So think about this stuff, folks. And I am done for the night. We don't have anybody that wants to jump on panels, so we're out. Remember, folks, God bless. I love you, but I don't give a fuck whether you love me back or not. So have a good night, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.